Plot summary of Brighton Rock by Graham Greene. Graham Greene's book Brighton Rock starts with a news reporter named Charles Hale drinking alone in Brighton on a busy holiday weekend, when many tourists are there. Hale is in Brighton as part of a promotion for his newspaper called Kalioni. He knows that Pinky and his gang are after him because of a story he wrote about Kite, the gang's former leader who has since died. He can only stay alive if he has someone to spend the day with. He meets the curvy and flirty Ida Arnold in a bar. After they ride in a cab together and kiss, Ida insists on going into a ladies' room to wash up. Hale begs her to stay with him, but Ida thinks he's just being enthusiastic and says she'll be right back. Hale won't be there when she gets back. Mean guy Pinky Brown, who is 17 years old, is killing time while he waits for his gang members to show up and tell him that their job is done. Spicer, Cubit, and Dallo eventually meet up with Pinky in a cafe on the pier. They tell him that Hale is dead and that the remaining Kalioni cards have been hidden around town in a way that will make the police lose track of them. Pinky worries that Spicer might have been seen putting a card under a tablecloth in a restaurant, which would make it easy for them to be found. Pinky chooses to go back to the restaurant on his own. Rose, a plain and shy waitress, tells him she found the card. He decides to get close to her so she won't talk to the police. After a few days, Ina goes to her favorite pub, Henneke's. Soon, she finds out that a Kalioni man has died. She won't let anyone else read the story, so she reads it herself. She is shocked to find out that the victim is Hale, who she knows as Fred. Ida is also shocked by the news story, which she thinks is full of mistakes. She finds his death not only sad and tragic, but also strange. Ida is sure that Fred's ghost is trying to talk to her and ask her to look into it. She decides to go to his funeral, which seems almost as sad as his death because of how impersonal it is. Back at home, she pulls out her Ouija board and asks it, along with her neighbor Old Crow, about Hale's death. Ida thinks that the jumbled words on the board mean that she is being forced to kill herself. She promises to find out what happened that day that killed Hale, and she tells Old Crow that she is sure her strong and unshakable sense of right and wrong will help her. Pinky starts trying to get Rose to like him by taking her to Sherry's nightclub. They find out over drinks that they are both Catholic. But they couldn't be more different in how they see and live out their faith. Pinky thinks that God punishes and damns people, but Rose thinks that God saves people. Pinky points to a bottle of vitriol, or sulfuric acid, that he always has with him while they talk. Strangely, the bottle seems to be alive, and it tells Pinky that keeping the acid around for his enemies will kill him in the end. Pinky gets an invitation to go see Kalioni, the top mob boss in Brighton, who lives in style at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. The two men talk about the upcoming races and how Kite's death was caused by both Hale and Kite himself, according to Pinky. Then Pinky threatens Kalioni, but the older man isn't scared, he's just amused. He tells Pinky that he should join his group. Kalioni would love to have someone so young, skilled, and eager to work for him, but Pinky is offended by the idea and storms off. He meets a police officer in the hotel hallway, who tells him to go to the station and talk to the police inspector. Pinky goes, worried that Rose might have told, but the inspector called the meeting to tell Pinky not to do anything violent at the races at the horse park coming up. The inspector is afraid that Pinky's gang and Kalioni's gang will go to war with each other. He tells Pinky that Kalioni is too strong to compete with, and Pinky storms off again, angry that no one will treat him with the respect he deserves. He starts to think that he needs a bloodbath. Kite and Hale's deaths started something, and Pinky would be happy to see it through to the end, even if it means killing more people. Ida is making progress in her search for answers. She finds out that Kite was killed by Kalioni's men from a talkative bartender. She then goes to Snow's cafe to talk to Rose, from whom she learns that Rose found a Kalioni card on the day Hale died. Ida starts to ask Rose questions in a friendly way, and from the way Rose answers, she figures out that Hale didn't leave the card in the cafe. She goes to the police station with Phil Corkery, a middle-aged man who doesn't have much backbone, and tells them what she knows. However, the police laugh off any idea that something is wrong. Since Hale was killed, Spicer, who is the oldest member of Pinky's gang, has become tense and afraid. From the beginning, he was against the murder. Now he worries that when he dropped the Kalioni card in Snows, he put himself in needless danger. Frank answers the phone at his boarding house, and it's Rose. She wants to talk to Pinky. Spicer is even more upset by the call, so he goes for a walk on the pier and daydreams about retiring to Nottingham and opening a pub. Spicer knows, though, that Pinky will never let him go because she knows too much about him. Pinky, too, is restless. After Kalioni and the police made fun of him, he is eager to show that he is a man. He goes to find Rose and tells her she has to come with him to the country. They take a bus to Peacehaven, a nearby beach town, where Rose tells him about Ida's visit while sitting on a cliff with a view of the ocean. Pinky is scared, but Rose tells him that she didn't say anything to Ida. Pinky goes back to Frank's, where she finds Spicer. He tells Spicer that he and Rose shouldn't be in the same town because it's not safe. Pinky is afraid that if Rose sees Spicer again, she will remember that he is the person who left the Kalioni card. Spicer says he could always go to Nottingham for a vacation. Pinky says something vague about Spicer having to go away. After Spicer goes to his own room, Pinky calls Kalioni to give him a job. The mission is to kill Spicer at the races next week. But the hit doesn't work out. Kalioni's men attack Pinky and Spicer, and Pinky has to run away and hide in the nearby countryside. Later that night, when he gets back to Frank's, he finds that Spicer is hurt but still alive and getting ready to leave for Nottingham. Spicer dies when Pinky, who is angry, throws him down the stairs. The only people who can testify are Dallow and Mr. Pruitt, Pinky's lawyer. Ida keeps asking Rose questions, but Rose refuses to tell her anything. Ida doesn't get that Rose grew up in terrible poverty and that Pinky's criminal behavior doesn't scare her. What scares her is having to go back to the dirty, musty apartment she lived in with her parents. She will do anything to stop it from happening. Pinky was found not to have killed Spicer after a quick police investigation. He then went to Rose's apartment, which she shares with two other Snows waitresses, and asked her to marry him. Rose is happy to agree. Rose is excited about the idea of marrying Pinky, but Pinky, who is a virgin and has a negative view of marriage, sex, and women, becomes more and more fragile as he sees his chances of getting married shrinking and as he takes on all of the responsibility for Kite, Hale, and Spicer's deaths. He tries to get Dallow and Cubit to fight over who is responsible for what in the gang, but Cubit is the only one who bites. During the fight, Cubit finds out that Pinky killed Spicer, so he leaves the gang right then and there. Still hurting from the fight, Cubit gets very drunk. When he goes to the Cosmopolitan bar to talk to Kalioni about a possible job, he runs into Ida Arnold instead, who starts asking him a lot of questions about Hale, Kite, Spicer, and Pinky. Cubit blurts out just enough information to convince Ida that her ideas about Pinky's guilt are correct. The day of Pinky and Rose's wedding has come. They get married in the bare and sad municipal office, and then Dallow and Mr. Pruitt take them out for drinks. Then Pinky and Rose go walking around Brighton, and Rose asks Pinky to record his voice as a souvenir for her. Rose thinks Pinky will say something nice on the recording, but he records a hateful rant about how she has trapped him. Pinky doesn't worry about the record, though, because they don't have a gramophone and he thinks she'll never hear his message. The newlyweds go back to Frank's house and make love in Pinky's room. Pinky is surprised to find that the sex act isn't nearly as disgusting as he thought it would be. In fact, it's almost pleasurable, and it gives him a new feeling of power and control. He is also surprised to find out that Rose has always known that he and his men killed Hale, but she has never said anything about it because she doesn't care. Only Pinky and their new life together matter to her. That way of life is hard on Pinky, and so is Ida's habit of showing up wherever he and Rose are and chasing them. He starts to worry that Rose will get tired of him and tell the police everything she knows. He also worries that Cubit and Pruitt will also turn against him and send him to prison or even kill him. One day, after Ida and Phil Corkery have kept an eye on them for hours while they were on the pier, Pinky loses her temper and drags Rose back to Peacehaven to carry out their plan to kill themselves. In reality, Pinky has no plans to actually do it. He wants Rose to kill herself first, which will set him free. But the plan goes wrong when, at the last minute, Ida shows up on the cliff with the police and tells Pinky and Rose everything she knows about Hale, Kite, and Spicer. Pinky, who was trapped and desperate, threw acid on himself and then jumped off a nearby cliff to his death. Ida goes back to Henneke's bar after the crimes have been solved to her satisfaction. She is happy with herself not only because she got Pinky in trouble, but also because she stopped him from hurting Rose. Rose, on the other hand, is not free. She is very sad about Pinky's death. The only thing that makes her feel better is the thought that she might be pregnant with his child. She tells a priest about everything that has happened to her, and instead of condemning her, the priest tells her that God's mercy is endless. She feels relieved and excited as she walks out of the church. She has found a store where the owner will let her use his gramophone. Pinky made a record for her on the day of their wedding, and she can't wait to hear it. She wants nothing more than to hear him tell her he loves her.
About the author. Henry Graham Greene was born into a family with a lot of money and power. As a young boy, he went to a prestigious boarding school in Berkhamsted, where his father was the housemaster. He then went on to study at Oxford. After he got his degree, he worked as a tutor and as a reporter for both the Nottingham Journal and the Times. He became a Catholic and married a Catholic, Vivian Dayrell Browning, in 1926. Graham's first book, The Man Within, came out in 1929. It did well, so he was able to become a full-time writer. During World War II, his sister Elizabeth got him a job as a spy with MI6. He spent a lot of his life traveling the world, and he used what he saw there to inspire his writing. He also went through periods of depression and had several affairs with other people. In 1947, he left his wife, Vivian, and their 2 children. He later said that his books were his real children. He wrote more than 20 novels, including The Power and the Glory, which is widely thought to be his best work. He also wrote 4 travelogues, 8 plays, 10 screenplays, and more than 50 short stories. He died at age 86 of leukemia in Vevey, Switzerland.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.